Chapter 11. Handling Difficult Situations with Clients. I joke sometimes that being a freelance writer can feel, at times, like you're a coffee shop barista, just with more complicated orders from your customers. As someone who has worked service jobs before, I can say with absolute certainty that being a freelance writer is superior to every other job I've ever had. I've been a Hollywood assistant, a resident advisor, or RA, and a front desk reception worker at a post-production lab. In those jobs, I was paid near minimum wage, dealt with people often facing difficult days in their lives who would take it out on me, and couldn't wear my PJs to work. As a freelance writer, I have the flexibility to turn down clients, pick my projects, and work from home, all while being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars more than I did as a minimum wage worker. However, freelancing in all forms is still a customer service job. You can say yes if someone comes to you wanting a complicated half-calf pumpkin spice latte with 2 shots of vanilla syrup and sweet cream foam, because they are absolutely delightful to work with. But sometimes when you're trying to make a simple cold brew, it might end up being a bit of a nightmare if your customer is a grump and they realize they meant to say they wanted an Americano, and now they're refusing to pay for their first drink despite it being what they initially ordered. I've worked with the full spectrum of clients, and I've been in customer service hell a number of times. Sometimes things have turned out okay and I've saved the project, and other times I've had to lean into my contract with the client to protect me as I stepped away and closed things out. Let's break down some of the situations that might come up so you can learn from my mistakes and be prepared if something goes wrong. Scenario number 1. Client is unhappy with your work. As I've mentioned many times in this book, I'm a recovering people pleaser. What can I say? I'm an ambitious eldest daughter. I'm also human. I like to be accepted for who I am and for people to love the work I do for them. As a professional freelance writer, I've been lucky to see that a majority of my clients do dig my work, but it wasn't always that way. Early on in my career as a freelance writer, I was still learning how to best work with people and deliver what they were looking for. I was also a new copywriter, still learning as I grew. Confidence in your work grows slowly over time, and you have to put in the hours to learn and improve with every job. Whether you're an expert or a brand new freelance writer, you're not going to knock every assignment out of the park. Trust me, it's not possible. If a client doesn't like the work you turn in, set your ego aside and turn on your customer service personality. Diagnose what went wrong, validate your client's feelings. They are hiring you to help them after all, and set forth a plan to make things right. Some bumpiness is normal if you're just starting with a client and trying to capture what they want on the page, so really listen to what they're saying and do your best in the rewrite phase. If you've exhausted all your rewrites and they're still not happy, consider offering a complimentary revision. However, if your client is acting rude and not respecting you, just finish out your contract and walk away. You're a professional after all, and you deserve to be treated like one by your clients. You also don't want to be in business with people who blow up at you or who can't control their emotions or communicate clearly. Scenario number 2, client refuses to pay or client's company goes bankrupt. Sometimes it's payday and the client's company is dead and gone, RIP, and you can do pretty much nothing. There are legal channels you can pursue, of course. Check in with your lawyer to see what's possible based on the amount owed, the language in your contract, and local laws and regulations. In many scenarios, however, it will cost you more money in legal fees to recover an unpaid invoice than the sum of that invoice. This is why it is absolutely essential to get an upfront deposit from your client. That way, if they ghost you, you still have half of the payment already in your account. Check with your CPA, but you may also be able to write off the unpaid invoice on your taxes and save some money on your tax bill. When I have clients who are late to pay their invoices, I stay on my reminders with the invoice. I have an automated software that helps to remind my clients of any late invoices so it's not coming from me personally, and usually it gets paid. Your lawyer may also advise you to include a late fee for unpaid invoices so that the late payment accrues interest until it's paid. I've also had clients whose startups have closed or gone bankrupt before they could pay me. This is yet another reason why you need to charge enough so that 1 or 2 unpaid invoices isn't going to crater your entire freelance business. Remember, as a freelancer, you take on more risk than employees, which is why you also need to charge more. Scenario number 3, client asks you to work beyond the scope of your agreement. I've found that sometimes clients just don't read my emails or the contract they've signed, even if we've discussed the details in depth on a call. I was in the middle of doing a full rewrite on a draft when this happened. I had to, gently, remind the client that we had exceeded the number of rewrites when they asked me for another round of edits. I offered to do a polish with some proofreading changes, but let them know that to do any deep changes, I'd need to close out our contract and work hourly. The client was confused, and I had to point to the contract and past discussions we'd had. The client paid the final invoice but didn't move forward with me on an hourly basis. It was a clean break, but sometimes it's not always this way. I've also had clients who I've had to remind that our contract terms have been exceeded, and they valued my work and were happy to switch to an hourly contract. Be kind but firm in your email to your client. I create these voiceovers using Wondercraft AI, a text-to-speech tool that speaks in your voice so you can create more podcasts, audiobooks, and voiceovers, all by just dropping in some text. Use my code SUTO50, SUTO50, or the link in the description below to get 50% off your Wondercraft AI subscription. I get a small commission if you use my code, so thanks for your support. Sending creativity and good writing vibes your way. Amy.